Hello there. And we've also, of course, got British Ace, otherwise known as Joe.
Yes. I'm sure you know both of us, but a little intro for myself. As Paul said, I'm Joe, British Ace, who covers Train Sim World, Train Simulator, OMSI 2, and also works on the Real World Railway here in the UK.
Very nice to have another real railway person involved in a bit of a collab. I work on a heritage railway in Melbourne. On my channel I mostly do train content, both simulation and real, despite the name of the thing. I do actually have real train content there as well. And today we're doing a fun little challenge. Do you want to talk about what we're doing, Joe?
We are doing well, it's two parts. So the first bit we're doing now is we're going to be racing in a class 700 from London Victoria down to East Croydon, which is slightly weird in itself because it's a 700 on the sort of the Victoria spur of the Brighton main line, but it's fun, it's unique. So yeah, we're going to be racing that down from Vic to East Croydon, and then once we get to East Croydon we've got to jump out really quickly, run over to platform number 3, and then from platform 3 we then have a points challenge, which is a 1 alpha service, which is a Victoria to Brighton service, and then we then drive that down to Brighton, and whoever gets to Brighton with the most amount of points wins.
This is very true, and yes. People have probably noticed that we've each just spawned a 700 using the new free roam feature introduced in Train Sim World 4. Yeah,
certainly
and
have.
Both desperately trying to find East Croydon on the map now.
Yeah. all the tracks everywhere on the London commute, or Brighton Mainline DLC.
Yeah.
I suppose as we mentioned, it's good to mention free roam. So yeah, free roam is a new thing within Train Sim World 4, which allows you to basically spawn a train on any route, any train on any route you could think possible. Very much easier than how it used to be, where it just scenario planner and off the rail. It's so easy now. You load in, I know on consoles left on the D-pad. What's it on PCs, Paul?
It's the tab key.
Tab key. And then spawn new train, as I'm sure you saw us doing. Spawn new train. All of the trains you own in your collection are on the massive list, which is nice and easy. There's a search bar as well. Click your train, click what formation you want, so 4 coaches, 8 coaches, 12 coaches, empty, with passengers, and then you can plonk it down wherever you want, even if it's an electric train on a diesel route. I believe that still does work. It's madness, but it's good fun.
It is indeed madness, and people might have noticed that we spawned the train as soon as the other one left the platform, and the reason for that's twofold. The first one is to give us a good head start in the race, but the second one is that London Victoria is so busy, if you don't spawn it into an empty platform straight away, you might not be able to spawn it at all, because it won't let you use a platform that's got a train coming into it, and they nearly all do. So you have to take your moment. That's why we jumped in so quickly.
Yeah. So otherwise then the signal block's taken, and then it gets angry with you, and it doesn't allow it. So you've got to be sharp.
You do indeed. And right now the poor little dispatcher in the game's going, "Ah, what have they done?" But it actually works quite well, so it accommodates it nearly all the time. The game does pop up a little warning that says sometimes really weird things will happen, and they do.
Yeah, they do. Certainly do. So me and Paul are just going over Grosvenor Bridge at the moment, and we've got Battersea Power Station on the left of us. And there is a slight difference in how our games look, and that's because Paul, who's on the left-hand side, is on the PC, so that's the Steam PC version, and I'm playing on PlayStation 5, so a nice little difference of how it's going to look. And yeah, just down to the left of us is the Battersea Dogs and Cats Home.
Yeah, very good place indeed, looking after all of the pets that need a little bit of help.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Battersea Park Station. I'm going through. I think Paul's... Yeah, you're just about to go through. We're close.
Yeah, you started off a little bit quicker than me. I believe the power station's a shopping centre now.
Yeah, recently got, well, I think a year or so ago. Yeah, and it's now been converted into a shopping centre. I think there's also flats or whatever at the very top of it. So they've made good use of, I suppose, what's left from the behemoth.
I wonder if you can live in a chimney. That'd be fun.
That would be quite fun.
Yeah. Other things that are a little bit different is I'm running the minimal HUD.
Yeah.
And Joe's running the full HUD. So there's just slight differences in what you're seeing on the screen, and all this is configurable for you through the settings menus in TSW. You also notice Joe went full hog on the safety systems. I've only got AWS and TPWS turned on. And Joe's gone for vigilance as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I just prefer using this HUD because at least when we've got the HUD on, most of the time I have it off. I just like having that open, you know, game getaway, sort of that realistic sort of experience, I suppose you could say. And realistic as much as possible.
Indeed. And speaking of AWS, you probably noticed something just happened to me on the left-hand side there.
Oh yes,
I'm now waiting for a minute.
Oh.
I thought about re-recording when this happened, and I thought, nah, it's realistic, it happens to people.
Yeah.
So here I am, waiting. Joe, meanwhile, progressing.
Slowly coming up to the red light at just outside of Clapham Junction.
Yeah, the other reason why I didn't start again is I actually thought it wouldn't make that much difference because I knew about this red light, and I knew you'd have to wait for it anyway. There we go. I've reset. Starting to get going again now.
And then the left side of me currently, I think it's the longest billboard in... Is it billboard? That's the English way, isn't it? I'm saying it.
Longest billboard as well. Yeah.
Oh, it's over there as well. It's the longest one in Europe, I think, in terms of sort of the width of it. Or length.
I can't remember. Our heritage is more or less English, plus kangaroos and snakes and spiders.
Right, I'm going to set out the red light.
Ooh, setting the DRA.
Yes.
Right, advanced.
And you get the nice lady talking to you on this one as well, on the 700. You need to put the DRA off and bits and bobs on.
Indeed. And you have to react quite quickly to AWS on the 700. I think you only get something like 2 seconds. And
yeah. I
was not quick enough.
So Paul, you just crossed over the West London line as you come up to the big billboard, which is the line that runs between Clapham Junction and, well, it connects the West Coast Main Line. West Coast Main Line, Great Western Main Line, it connects them all together. So that's what you've just gone over.
It's very cool that you know all the routes and you know how all the different parts of the game and the different parts in reality join together.
Yeah, it's
I just look at it and go, train.
Yeah, it's it is weird seeing a sort of a line you know so well, an area you know so well, and train operating company you know so well. It's weird seeing it in the game, but it's also nice to sort of see how well it's been recreated in the game. That's another nice thing about it.
Indeed. I'm actually hoping to get to the UK in June this year, if all things work out. Not quite sure how I'm going to afford it, but if all things work out, then I'll go and ride some of these, because you have to.
Yes.
And I could always bring along a game console or a Steam Deck or a laptop or something and drive the train on the train just for a bit of meta action, but that might get you arrested as a terrorist.
I don't know, I feel like probably slightly okay laws though. It would be allowed, yeah. I think you'd be alright.
Doesn't help that I look like this.
So you're actually now ahead of me, Paul. Yeah, you're now ahead as you go through Clapham.
I did follow the SAM rules of train driving.
There we go through. Well, yeah, you're already. Well, you're where the southwest main line branches off as it heads down towards one of the stations like Woking, Basingstoke, all those sort of places. Southampton, Weymouth. That's gone off to the right of you, and I'm still slowly making my way through Clapham Junction.
You're driving probably the way a real train driver would, whereas I'm driving knowing that the train in front of me is also not stopping. So I'm banking on the fact that it's not stopping and that I won't run into a red. I've also got the signal aspects turned on in the track monitor in the top right, and I notice that you don't. So you're living by what you see in front of you through the windscreen.
Yeah, another little difference in the way we play.
Yeah. What's really interesting is, even though I'm in the beta program and are supposed to know all these fancy things, I didn't actually know you could do that.
I think it's signal aspects or map. I don't know what is that little tiny distance. I call it the track map. I don't know what the actual name is for it.
The name they use is track monitor, but it doesn't really matter. Track map's good enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, I actually went and found it in the settings, and I've started playing without the signal aspects turned on because it's better.
Yeah.
And most routes you get quite a good advanced view of the signals. Because they're designed in real life so that drivers can get a good advanced view, and most of the time they're actually placed where they really are in life. So
most signals are easy to see. Most,
yes. There's a few on routes like Clinchfield where you come around a corner and go, red light.
Go on.
We've probably all spattered on that one.
And you're just going through, but you're actually quite a way. You're a whole station. You're at Balham now. And up to the left of you, you've got the line off to Streatham Hill. Yeah, Streatham Hill, then it goes Tulse Hill and off that way. That's the line you're just about to go past. And I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah, I don't think you're far behind me, though. And the good thing about this is in two parts, so it doesn't really matter what the outcome of part one is. Because we'll see what the outcome of part two is.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just going through Balham now. There we are. Whizzing through. The thing is, the 700s are actually, I'm pretty certain they are signed to run into Victoria Central, which there's Central Victoria, which is the southern side of Victoria. And then you've got Victoria Eastern, which is the southeastern side. Now the 700s actually are signed to run into Central Victoria, but I don't think any of their drivers sign it. So they can, but just none of the drivers can.
They just don't want to do it.
No.
I just noticed I got a reward for driving 7 miles.
Oh.
That's the joys of rebuilding your PC from time to time to clean things out.
So you're just, you're coming up to the Sutton and Mole Valley lines going over the top, or the Portsmouth lines, as they actually, the old name, the Portsmouth lines. They head down, you've just gone under them, they head down towards Sutton, Epsom, and eventually down to Leatherhead, and then you can go Guildford, you can go towards Horsham. You've just gone, under that.
Leatherhead sounds like the name of a serial killer.
Leatherhead.
But some of those names like Sutton, Horsham, we've got suburbs with the same names. So.
I suppose that's sort of one of the cool things about Australia. You sort of share the same history and same names and same most things.
Yeah, homesick English people naming things. In fact, the place we're eventually driving to in the second part of this, which is Brighton, is a suburb that's actually not very far from where I live.
Oh.
And I live in a suburb that'll have another familiar name because it's called Frankston.
Do a swap over one time. I'll go to Brighton in Melbourne, and you'll go to Brighton in Sussex.
Yeah. We can do that.
I'm still... Yeah, you are considerably ahead. Yeah, you're way ahead. I'm just going through Norbury. Oh yeah, Thornton Heath almost.
When the 700... Sorry, go on.
I don't know where you've got this time from.
It's pushing the envelope a little. Normally, on a double yellow, you might go this fast, but on a yellow, you wouldn't. Because on a yellow signal, generally speaking, on a caution, you have to travel at a speed that you can stop within the length of your own train. And let's just say I'm not.
Ooh, nice shed there. You're going past that.
Indeed. Yeah, one of the reasons I chose this particular time is there's a good variety of things that you see as you play.
Yeah.
It's quite cool seeing how similar the graphics are between the gaming PC and the PlayStation.
Yeah, it's surprising actually, because I'm assuming you're probably on fully ultra and max everything.
I am.
Yeah. So it's quite cool to see
No.
sort of how it lines up.
Yeah. No mods though, I run vanilla.
Yeah.
When I'm doing stuff on my time, sometimes I play with mods, but when I'm recording and showing it off, I always prefer to show vanilla because that's what everybody else will see.
Yeah, fair enough. So you're about to go through, you're going through Selhurst, however you want to pronounce it. You've got the big Selhurst depot there, which is one of the main depots, I suppose, within South London. You've got the Southern diesels, which get maintained there as well.
Yeah, an interesting aspect of this railway line here too, where you get separation in height between the tracks that are going to the same place.
There's a whole mix of tracks. You just went over the line, another part of the Sutton Mole Valley line, which goes to Sutton, and then the other, the bit joining us is the other spur of the Brighton main line, which goes up to London Bridge. So that's just joined up with us. A very busy place, a bottleneck in real life.
And you're catching up as well, because I've slowed down a little bit now because I'm coming into the station. Trying to get my speed down to not exceed this 45 when I hit it.
And for this challenge, I think it was who basically gets there first. And by the looks of the time, it does look like it probably will be Paul.
Yeah.
I think on
Time's an interesting thing in the game, actually, because I don't know if you know, but the clock in the game is not actually real. It's not 1 second for 1 second.
Oh.
So they run so many ticks per second in the game, and each tick they do something in the game, like draw something or look at something or check a control or whatever, and then update the time as well, but it doesn't work out as quite on real time.
Well, it's interesting to know. I'm absolutely flying into East Croydon. So you arrived there
indeed.
at basically bang on 38 past. I've got 5 seconds, which it looks like it's that's not like So there you go. Paul wins round 1 of the BML double up challenge thing.
And now I jump out of the train and close the door, carefully turned it all off, and then ran up here and ran into an invisible wall. I don't know why there's an invisible wall there. And for some bizarre reason, I've now come back to the train. I don't know why I came back to the train, but I clearly have.
Why not? Nice little inspection.
Oh, I know what it is, because see how it says I've got 29 yards to go? I'm thinking, I should move that. And then I was looking at the time going, ooh, this is getting pretty close.
Yeah. I did the same thing there, running up to the... Because realistically, that's the main station concourse. I'm a little bit surprised why it didn't feature in this route. But yeah, that's the main station concourse up there. That is like the main way of changing platforms.
Then I've given up on the idea of moving it. I'm just getting out now because I'm looking at the time going, this is getting too close. Still take time to close the window though. And back up here again, not having learnt about the invisible wall.
Oh no.
Go, oh, yeah, invisible wall.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're on the other platform laughing at me.
Was it 41 past, I think, the Brighton train?
It does indeed.
Yeah, so this is...
And I think
go on.
in the game it arrives just before yours for me, so you'll see my video actually pause so that we get lined up again in time.
Yes, this is going to be round number 2 of the BML challenge. And this bit is... Oh, hello, there's like a little cat on your... Okay, it's gone now. Yeah, this is about how many points you can get. So whoever gets the most amount of points by Brighton wins. Oh, you got an NHS one, lovely.
And the idea of points is the more closely you adhere to the speed limits. I can see through the lady's head. It's always a bit disturbing. The more closely you adhere to speed limits, the closer you are to the stopping points, and the closer you are to the timetable, you get more points. Now, I have to say I normally don't play points, so I'm not actually that good at points.
I think it's be sort of half and half. Some people really love points. Like, they want to get a platinum medal on every single one they drive. They just work through the timetable getting gold, 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 gold. I'm one of those people. It's just like, I'll just turn them off. I'll just draw. All I want to do is get in the train, realistically drive from A to B. That's all I want to do on this game.
And that's the cool thing about the game, is there aren't any right or wrong ways to do it. You do it how you want to do it.
Exactly. I suppose it's
both checking setup on the train and going, oh look, it's done it all for us. Oh, you're away first.
Oh yeah, I am. I've got the advantage on this one as I make my way out, and we are actually in sync now as well, as you said, because you paused the thing. That's good.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely have the advantage on this stretch, because I imagine you've driven this rather a lot.
A lot. Although it's a weird thing to say, but it's actually harder doing it. Doing it with the HUD on is actually harder because I'm so used to doing it without the HUD. So it's sort of almost like a distraction seeing the HUD.
Yeah, it can be. And interestingly, in that camera view I had there, this is one of the busiest routes in the game, because we could actually see 4 trains at the same time there, which is kind of unusual in the game. The only other route that does it, to my mind, is New York-Trenton, and it's a different aspect of it. It's probably not as many trains as here, except in New York Penn itself.
Yeah. So we're now coming up to...
Of course, that one hasn't got any people, but this one still does. Yes, people.
Yeah. So we're now coming up to South Croydon, so I've got the slight advantage here, and just off to the left of South Croydon, you've got the Oxted lines. Which go down to, well, Hurst Green and then split off. So you've got the line to East Grinstead and then the line to Uckfield, which is Diesel. So that's what we're just going past now. Paul's looking out his window there at the junction. And it's now full line
the other
speed.
train.
Yeah. Up to 90.
Being a rail fan, of course, you have to look at the other trains.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what Australians call rail fans?
Foamers?
Gunzels.
That is a interesting name.
Yeah, so when you're working on a real train and you see a whole lot of people with cameras out the side of the track, you naturally enough stick your head out and yell out, Gunzel!
Gunzels.
And that completely ruins their video and they just quietly hate you.
Where am I? Pearly Oaks I'm about to go through. My Gatwick will be its again.
A little bit ahead of me, I think.
So
yeah, definitely ahead of me on points. Look at the points difference.
Let's have a look.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's fairly. Although I'm a few seconds in front. But Paul, we get to that time where I have to ask, if you could see a route in TSW, what would you want to see?
I think I need an Australian route. And I know Matt's looking for an excuse to do a trip to Australia to gather reference. So maybe it'll happen one day.
Fair enough. Anything Australian or anything sort of specific? Metro, heritage, high speed?
I think to be honest, I'd settle for almost anything just to get an Australian route.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to see my local one because it's got electric multiple unit, it's got diesel multiple unit, it's got diesel hauled freight. So it's got a good mix, and it's also fairly busy. Our train services aren't quite as good as the UK. We generally have it during peak times. We'll have a train about every 10-15 minutes, but the rest of the day it's a train every hour, if you're lucky.
I mean, that's not all different. I mean, quite a lot of lines here are every hour. I mean, in the southeast, it's a bit more. Where we are driving currently, it would be every sort of 15 minutes, basically all day. But not too dissimilar.
I think the railway that I've been most impressed with in the world, there's two. One, right at the top of it, is the Japanese Tokyo system, because you don't worry about running for a train because there's another one 2 minutes behind it. You just don't care. And the other one is the New York subway system, because they tend to run smaller trains and a lot more of them. So certainly more populous running than our own network.
I was waiting until you come to London.
This is the grand plan. I'm hoping to do it in June. There's an event on in Manchester that I want to go to.
Ooh.
And of course, being a railway nut, I need to go and explore. And there's no shortage.
Fair enough.
So I work on the Puffingbilly Railway, which is a heritage railway in Melbourne. And there's a sister railway of ours, the Tallian. And I probably butchered the pronunciation of that because it's Welsh and Welsh pronunciation.
The Tallian.
Interesting. So I have to go and visit them, of course.
What about the Festiniog on Welsh Island? That's narrow gauge, similar.
Oh, you definitely have to visit them as well. There's a whole list of places that I'd like to do and like to go and see. I've had previews of some UK routes through this game, but there's also a YouTuber I follow, G Love Trains, that she goes everywhere, literally.
Everywhere, fair enough. Right, so let's see, you are there, so we're fairly similar now. I'm just about to enter the quarry tunnel, and you're not too far behind.
Yeah, I'm only one bridge behind you now, I think.
Yeah, so catching up.
Yeah, the acceleration on this one's not quite the same as the second.
No, I'm pretty certain the 377 actually does have better acceleration. I've heard it somewhere, and I think, yeah, I'm pretty certain it does actually have better acceleration. You wouldn't think so, but I think it does.
That's good to know.
But obviously, once the 700 gets on the juice wire, it gets a bit different then.
When it gets proper electricity.
Oh, that was a nice flyby shot in the tunnel.
I always have a look in the tunnels to see if the lights work, and I've remembered to turn them on or not.
So I'm just about to go over the M25, the road between motorway and Hull. There we go, over that. To the right of us would be Merston.
I am always impressed at your level of route knowledge.
I've just been on this route so many times, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like the railway I work on. People can show me a picture of a tree or a rock and I tell them where it is. Only once have I had someone show me a picture in all the years that I've offered to do it and not know where it was.
Oh.
And they were a little bit sneaky.
What I say? Was it slightly further away from the railway?
Yeah, they were actually a little bit away from the railway line. That's the other side of a track. And as a fireman, you need to learn the route that well because you need to know when the driver's going to need steam and when they're not, so you're not blowing off all the time.
Yeah.
One of our engines, you have to learn where you are on the route from above because the visibility out the sides is so poor, you actually look up.
Oh, wow.
And you need to recognise the trees.
Have you got any sort of English trains over there then, which have been sort of imported or exported?
There's actually quite a lot from the steam era of English trains, and we
Yeah.
used to have English electric trains. We had what we called Harris trains, but in the craze of removing asbestos from the world, those trains were basically made of asbestos, so they all got buried.
So,
But in the steam era, a lot of our trains were made in England and imported over here. We've got ones sitting in our museum, which is waiting its turn for its major overhaul, and that's an English Garratt.
very
We've
nice.
got a South African Garratt, which was originally actually made in Manchester, so that's an English one. That one's operational.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, the most recent steam trains that were brought into the Australian network, the R-Class, they're an American Hudson made in England.
Oh.
Yeah, Australians, we like being weird. But now, like most places, most of our trains come from European vendors.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's just, we're now out on the straight now. We're out on the sort of the more rural feeling stretch of the line, even though it's actually not really that rural, but the stretch between sort of Red Hill and Gatwick. So coming up on the left of my screen would be East Surrey Hospital. I think we're just about to come up to that on the left, or might have actually already gone past it. And then Salford's fairly soon. Salford's, Hawley, and then Gatwick.
Very cool. Maybe we'll see some planes.
Maybe we will.
And I think the planes in game are some very weird cross between a 737 and an Airbus.
Yeah, it's slightly peculiar. There's a nice
It's a
drop.
very generic plane.
Yeah. So I'm just going past Salford's currently. Yeah, you're not too far behind. What, 500 metres behind or so? So
Interesting to hear you use metric.
Oh.
Now I'm looking at the timetable going, how long is this thing anyway that I committed to?
Yeah, it does take a while to get between East Croydon and Gatwick. A little while. Thanks, Paul. Would you want to see this train upgraded again?
Oh, definitely.
With a bit more my track functionality and announcements, things like that. I'm sure we'd all like that.
And the suspension, that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'd like to
cab sway isn't quite what suspension would do.
Yeah, we'd like to see another. Well, I suppose East Coast Way, this route upgraded, and maybe even a whole new Electrostar route. Southern Electrostar route would be nice.
Well, there certainly have been a few that have been upgraded recently, so that's showing
that's a good
signs
sign,
that we may get some more.
Yeah. And what I'm looking forward to is West Somerset, which maybe when this is going out, maybe that's already out. West Somerset upgraded. Look forward to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the release schedule is for that, but it should be quite interesting to get an upgrade for West Somerset with new content and being able to run additional things and just making its scenery up to date with the way scenery is done now, because it's changed a lot in the short time the game's been alive.
So now coming up to Gatwick Airport.
You're going to stop first for sure.
Yeah. This bridge coming up is the border with Sussex. So as soon as we get under this bridge, which I'm just about to go under, I am now in Sussex. Whee.
Get your passports ready. Got a nice controlled and leisurely arrival into Gatwick.
Lovely. So what airport do you think you would fly into, Paul? Gatwick? Is that do they do Gatwick to Australia? No, I don't think they do they?
Not direct. Our only direct flights go to Heathrow. But there are other ways to get there, of course. I've been looking at airfares. They're a little ridiculous at the moment. They are very expensive. been looking at ones that are on sale, and if you travel on their combination of days, you're okay. But so, then you move it by 1 day and the airfare doubled.
Wow.
There was one flight I was looking at, it was actually cheaper to fly business class than economy.
Yeah, this is Gatwick Airport, which has had massive changes since this route released. You've now got a whole new concourse, which whenever I go to Gatwick is really quiet. It was sort of supposed to soak up the current customers and passengers, but it's always quiet when I go into the new concourse. It's just like dead silent every time.
It could be part of the design, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
Trying to control the noise of the airport and the noise of the people coming to and fro so they don't annoy the locals. This is where I figure out I've got ages, so I may as well go for a walk.
Yeah, we'll look around the station. I think I'd basically just go AFK here and look at the train.
Yep.
Going for a little adventure.
Well, because I rebuilt my PC recently, I can go and collect all the collectibles again.
Beat the heat, lovely. I can hear a 166. Is well, probably on both of our ones. I can hear a diesel somewhere over there.
There's always one hiding someplace.
May I have your attention,
Which little fact, actually, even though it's a Great Western Railway service, guess what TOC actually drives, or did drive that service?
It's a good question.
Have a guess. Who do you reckon? It's a Great Western Railway service, but it was actually crewed by, well, it's the driver. Drivers were Southern.
Yeah, I suppose it made sense, wouldn't it? Because it's their region.
Yeah, well, it doesn't anymore because yeah, there was sort of issues and yeah, it doesn't anymore. But yeah, the drivers used to be don't know about the guards, but the drivers, yeah, they used to be Southern drivers who from the Red Hill depot who would drive yeah, from Red Hill, well, here and then all the way to Reading, which is quite bonkers but cool.
It's a bit of a long run.
Yeah, along the North Downs line.
Yeah, we have similar things where the drivers have regions because you get to know your routes and you generally work in your region. You don't generally go and work somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because sending drivers off to work somewhere else is asking for spads.
It's a long old wait here at Gatwick. Well, we got 20 seconds. I think I actually closed my doors early. A whistle would have been blown at 20. Doors closing by 30. And then by 40, wheels moving. Generally.
Very organised.
Although Thameslink, it's always 20 seconds. About 40 seconds and they close the doors.
How good is the UK with on-time running?
Oh. It depends. It depends. I mean, I'd say when it's a good day, when there's nothing wrong, pretty well. But there's not usually a day where something doesn't go wrong.
It sounds familiar. Yeah, on our railway, because we're a heritage railway, we see the timetable as a list of stations and places to cross other trains. And that's about it. We're not particularly concerned about being all that adherent to it, so if we're 5 or 6 minutes, it's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. The only time people start to worry is if you're getting up to half an hour late, because that has ramifications across the whole railway.
Yeah. So we are... Yeah, the next station along is Three Bridges, which is actually home to the Three Bridges Thameslink depot, which is a huge complex. I can't remember how many trains it holds in total, but I know you can get, I think, 3 12-coach 700s in a row, and that's sort of how long, and there's a few sidings that long. So what's that, 36 coaches long. So about 720 metres or so.
And I just tried to pull off one of my camera angles where I sit on the ground between two trains, and it hit me.
So on the right of us, well, we've got there's lots of things on the right of us, but on the right of us we have Crawley New Yard coming up, but then sort of outside of the railway you've got the Metrobus depot, Metrobus Manor Royal depot. You've got Manor Royal, which is a huge sort of retail sort of park, of a business centre, massive business centre. One of the biggest in the county actually, and also Crawley, which is a lovely town, shall we say.
So he's saying it's lovely, or it is lovely? That's where Joe's thinking, I don't want to be hated by people from Crawley. It's really good.
Yeah, that's it's really nice.
Yeah.
So I'm going through
one of the things
bridges.
that we've talked about yards before. One of the things I like in the more recent routes is the yards are becoming accessible and you can actually use them on free roam. So there may not be any services or scenarios that go in there, but you can plonk things down and drive around to your heart's content.
Yeah. So off we go there. So Paul's just past the Three Bridges ASC, the Area Signalling Centre. And also off to the right there you have the Arun Valley line, which takes you down the beautiful line towards Horsham, and then about Pulborough, Amberley, Arundel. Amberley's actually a place you'd probably like to go, Paul, I reckon, because there is a working museum there of an industrial working museum, little trains and old buses and just
That
heritage
does sound
stuff.
like my kind of thing.
Yeah, Amberley open air working museums within an old quarry. They got a little narrow gauge railway around the outside and lovely setting.
Actually, I've seen a video from that.
Oh, it wasn't James Bond before, so.
No, it was. It's a girl. I think she's a teenager. She's maybe, I don't know, 13 or 14 or something, and she's got a YouTube channel. She did a video of that quarry, and it popped up in my feed.
Yeah.
She was a little too excited about the train.
Exploring the A23 there, or the M23.
Trying not to get run over while I get my Ralphan shot.
And then coming up to Balham Tunnel Junction and then into Balham Tunnel as we leave Crawley behind.
Isn't a question for you? Are most kinds of things accessible from trains, or would you need to rent a car?
What, like attractions or?
Yeah.
Depends really what attractions. I mean, heritage railways, a fair amount of them now in the UK are actually connected by a mainline railway. So, say you mentioned the Tallinn Railway, I think that's connected, or near enough connected. The Welsh Highland, that's connected. Festiniog, that's connected at Blanna Festiniog. It really depends what. Most are connected fairly well, especially if they're popular ones. They have a bus route or a train. They're fairly connected.
That sounds good then.
It's hard to find. Well, it's not hard to find, but it's quite easy to get around in the UK public transport wise.
Yeah, that's good, because the other thing I'm looking at, of course, is accommodation, and if you're anywhere near London, it's ridiculous.
Brighton. Well, that's probably expensive as well.
I think that could be in the mix. Blackpool looks kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Have to go to Chatham, of course, and go and annoy everybody. Go, hi, I'm the guy that's been annoying you in Discord for years. I'm here to do it in person. Now about this game.
As we absolutely whiz down the Brighton Manor, we've just gone through Balham, and soon to be upcoming is Ouse Valley Viaduct, which is another quite cool place you can go in real life actually, although you would have to drive, and you can walk underneath it and take cool photos and one of the sort of cool walks you can do.
Sounds good. The canals interest me too. I may splurge, depending if I get there and depending on how money looks, I might splurge out on actually renting a narrowboat for a day.
Yeah,
You can rent them for a day and a night, and from what I've seen, it's not that much more expensive than accommodation for a night. So
yeah.
could be a good option.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I don't think I'd want to travel a long way by canal because they're about as fast as the railway I work on. But do we get for the novelty for a day? That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I'm going over Thurs Valley Viaduct.
That's one thing the UK is very different to our rail rails. You have massive viaducts. In the times that the UK railways were built, there seems to be this need to flatten the way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hills are very unusual.
As in Australia, it's very... if there's a massive valley, we'll just go down the valley and back up the other side.
Yeah, basically. And consequently, we have some monumental banks that, in steam days, firemen in particular wouldn't have enjoyed.
Oh.
In today's diesel trains, it doesn't make that much difference to you.
What are your diesel trains like over there? What, I don't know. I'm thinking, when I think diesel, I think Class 66. How do they compare?
We have a huge range of stuff that's in service, ranging... The oldest things look a lot like American F7s.
Yeah.
We have a lot of... They're mostly EMD heritage type of locomotives that are still in service. And we've got lots of little operators, so... The big state-based operators abandoned most of these things a long time ago and sold them off. And there's these tiny operators that take up the market, and they do it with basically heritage rolling stock.
Oh.
And even some of our heritage train centres like Seymour, where they've collected a bunch of heritage trains, they actually use them on real commercial work to fund their heritage operations. So we've got all sorts of stuff. You never quite know what's going to turn up, from the absolute most modern things, 5,000 or 6,000 horsepower locomotive, through to something that's only 1,500 horsepower, and you find 4 of them pulling a train.
Fantastic. Very nice. We actually had something similar over here in the UK. Well, actually, this was actually brought to me from the community, but I think it was a Class 52, which obviously were retired years ago. One got brought back to do clay runs. I think it was up in Scotland or somewhere like that. So yeah, a retired locomotive which then got brought back to actually, carry freight. And there was also another instance of, I can't remember, it might have been number 52. Something got brought back, an old loco for freight runs. I can't remember which one.
It's quite cool when that happens.
Yeah, that was a Delta.
You certainly notice the difference when they change over the steel trains that come. It's probably about 5 kilometres from my house, but you used to be able to hear them. They'd come through at 2 o'clock in the morning and hear this whoop, 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 as the massive locomotives. Massive heritage ones came through, because they're, 50-year-old locomotives. There were no sound prevention laws then. And the operator that's taken over that run now, that's got the current contract, they've got much more powerful machines, but they're silent. You just don't hear it anymore at all.
You have a valid ticket for travel. You will be expected to produce your ticket.
So we're now at Haywards Heath. So we're only about 13 miles out of Brighton now. Another sort of commuter town. I suppose commuters of Brighton and London. It's, well, pretty good commuter place. And here in the game we've also got split and attach, which is also another cool aspect about this route is the split and attach runs.
I don't know why I reset my train then.
Yeah, I was looking, wondering why your master keys come out and... Oh, that's the AWS off again. That's the instance where I went AFK again. Some early.
Yeah, I can't remember if I was just bored and playing with it, or if I thought something was wrong with it. I wonder if I went into emergency as I stopped. Maybe I was trying to reset it.
You just close your doors as well.
Yeah.
What's going on? Oh, they're opening
And
again.
opening them again.
Well, actually, there's dispatchers at this station, so maybe they gave you the first tip too early.
It's possible. We can pretend that happened.
Yeah. So that service there, what you're looking at, or you were looking at there, Paul, is a service which couples up. So it's an operation that doesn't actually happen anymore. There's 2 stations I can think of where split and attach happens. I'm actually trained in it as well. There's one at Purley and at Horsham where split and attach happens. So for Purley, you get the services from Caterham, or Caterham, however you want to say it, and Tattenham Corner, which come up and then join together to form like a big long train into London. And then for Horsham, it services from Southampton or Portsmouth, and then from Bognor, which then join up with each other. But here at Haywards Heath, when this route is set, the trains, it's the Littlehampton services and the East Coastway services, Eastbourne, Hastings, or they join up here and then form just a big train going up to London, which is a cool thing you can see here in the UK quite often.
Yeah, we used to have services like that where trains would come from 2 regional areas, and at one of the midway regional stations they'd join them up and then come into the city together.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to do that anymore. They just seem to run them separately now.
Yeah, they do that here as well, where it's separately, sadly.
And the majority of our diesel hauled passenger isn't locomotive hauled trains anymore. It's mostly DMUs now.
No.
And they're depending on the time of day and how much traffic they're predicting. It might be 2 of them joined together, or it could be 6 or 8.
Yeah. It's like I've set off a bit quick there. I'm already up to Haywards Heath Tunnel. You got the barrier wagon there, which is realistic.
That's to stop you crashing into the tunnel, I suppose.
There you go, out of Haywards Heath Tunnel, and Paul's about to go into Haywards Heath Tunnel.
Passing a big car park. So what is the purpose of the wagon that sits there?
Well, it's just to stop. I don't know. I assume it's just meant to stop trains going in, or basically like a buffer stop, basically, just to stop trains from, well, hitting anything.
Protecting the tunnel mouth, I suppose.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's a portable crumple zone.
Yeah.
I remember along this route we've got the tunnel that looks like a castle as well.
Pardon?
We've got the tunnel that looks like a castle on this route, I
Yeah, that's Clayton Tunnel, that is. That's the northern portal of it, which runs, from Clayton down to Pycombe, which is the southern end of it.
I just noticed another difference in our HUD usage. You've got the ratio for the gradient, and I'm using percentage.
That's true, yeah. I don't understand. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out what any of that percentage stuff is. For me, it's ratio, just so easy to understand. It's like, at the moment, we're sat down, running 298 metres, so every 298 metres I go forward, I go down by 1 metre. Easy to understand.
Yeah. I don't mind the percentages, because I look at it and go, I know what that is. In an electric multiple unit, there's very few gradients where it actually matters anyway. So your train's powerful enough that it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, it's like on the Licky incline on the Cross City line, which is also available on TrainSimulator. You don't really notice the grade much on that.
You do if you try and take a steam engine, but...
Yeah. There goes the branch down to Lewis there, which I've just gone past.
Yeah, I did a video with Flying Scotsman on the Licky incline in the game, and it almost couldn't do it.
And I remember watching it. It was quite a challenge.
The weird and wonderful things you can do that are just good fun in the game. And it used to be a little bit difficult because you actually had to go and make a scenario, but now you just plonk yourself down in the timetable with free roam and off you go.
That's a good thing about free roam though, you can literally do absolutely anything you want. Even if, I mean this route for example, it doesn't have the Thameslink services. You can just spawn in the 700 now. Follow, you know, find real-time trains, find a service and then just follow the real timetable. Within service mode.
Yeah, and you get the advantage of having all the other traffic there for you, so you've got some visual interest.
Yeah. Are you about
without
to
having to
overshoot
go to
those
all the
as
work
well?
of putting it there with a scenario.
Yeah. That was very close, Paul. I was looking at my screen thinking of my sort of fairly smooth stop at Burgess Hill, and I see you absolutely hammering it down the platform. I'm like, Paul.
Yes, you went for smooth, I went for let's arrive quick. I rarely think about where you're supposed to stop, which is probably my undoing in points challenges. You can see we're quite a long way apart.
I think you're on, the 12 coach door marker.
We probably should have hidden the points and kept people in suspense.
We probably should have, yeah. Damn it.
Oh well.
Yeah. So fairly well, next station's Hassocks, and then fairly soon we do start seeing the South Downs, which to me is like a sign of home. It's like the Downs, nice.
Means you're almost there.
Yeah, almost by the sea.
If you're operating on a railway, the homeward trip, especially the last part of it,
Yeah.
it's actually the time you have to be the deliberately most observant. You have to force yourself to be observant because it's the most dangerous time.
Oh.
Because you're starting to think about going home and you're not there yet.
There goes Paul. And I was supposed to mention your livery, Paul. That is on the Creators Club, 377 111.
Is that where I got it from?
Yeah. Some cool liveries on there. Creators Club's good.
It is interesting what turns up in the game when you've downloaded stuff and you go, it just appears and you go, oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
There's the Downs, the first sight of them. They're not too far to Hassocks. I love the way literally our skybox and everything is just the same.
Yeah, they are really, really similar.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a little bit different on the Xbox, I have to say, because I run an Xbox S and it's a little more game-like, the graphics.
It definitely is cool to see the difference though between PC and console. I mean, there's not really much in it. I mean, I can see there's a little bit of difference. Yeah, colour-wise, there's definitely colours do look slightly better on the PC, and probably the rendering is probably slightly better. But there's not, apart from that, there's not really much in it.
Yeah, I think there's different depth to the shadows on PC, but to be honest, looking at them side by side, it really doesn't make that much difference.
No. Which is, it is hats off really to Dovetail for making it, being able to be like that on console.
Yeah, indeed, because they managed to squeeze quite a lot out of the Unreal Engine, because it's still running on version 4.
Mm.
I do get why they haven't actually gone to 5. It's, apart from the fact that it's an enormous amount of work, it's like developing the game all over again. Because I know some other game developers who have gone to 5, and they just disappeared into the woodwork for a couple of years while they redevelop all their stuff.
Mm.
But the other reason of not going to 5 is that because of the different feature set that it's got, it may well kill the old gen consoles, and that's a significant part of the market. So you don't want to do that.
And it's not for a couple more years.
No.
I think, I don't know, there's still a lot, I'm saying in my community, there's still lots of people on that last gen console, but then there's now a lot more still now on next gen.
Yeah. And the console market's massive compared to PC. I know Dovetail haven't released any official numbers, but it's significantly higher on console than PC.
Yeah.
which is why when the PC players moan and go, well, ours could be better, it's like, yeah, but they're dealing with most of their market.
Well, that's sort of one of the talking points about the game, which is quite annoying when I do hear it, is when, you know, the pro PC players start saying like TSW's not good, you know, Train Sim Classic's the best one because, you know, they don't have everything they can have yet on TSW. But then TSW, I suppose, I mean, it's not early days anymore, but it's still, you know, it's getting there.
You're off and running and I'm still wandering around in the wilderness. Yeah, there's a massive back catalogue in Train Sim Classic, but Train Sim Classic really is at the end of its life. The things that you do in that and the way that you play, they're not up there with this, so the graphics is far superior in Train Sim World.
Yeah. I could sit and play this all day, because the graphics aren't gonna, yeah, my eyes probably aren't gonna, well, they will ache, but I could easily sit and play this all day. Train Sim Classic, 2 hours max, my eyes aching, it's like, oh, I need to get off of it.
Yeah, it's similar. It's to me, it's not as enjoyable because there's just not as much stuff happening in it. And if you look at some of the other simulators, there's certainly a lot of stuff happening at the moment. There's a lot available now that weren't around even a year ago.
Yeah.
And looking at what's coming up in Steam, and there's probably another 5 or 6 that are slated as coming soon, whatever that might mean. So it's quite a growing market, which I think is a testament to this game, because this game's grown the market.
Yeah.
Here's our castle.
Yeah, Clayton Tunnel, which is supposedly haunted.
Excellent.
It was in the
As every good place should be.
Yeah, sometime in the 1800s, or was it 1890s or something, a train went in, and obviously this was when there wasn't signals. It was basically just, you know, train leaves the station, 2 minutes later, the other train leaves, and then they should be about 2 minutes apart. So one train went in, I think it broke down or something in the tunnel, or got stuck, and then the signaller, or basically the watcher, didn't, you know, say, oh, train's out the tunnel now. So yeah, the other train went in, and well, bad things happened.
Yeah, it's a time-based working was probably not ever a good idea, but before they had the concept of signalling, it was the only thing they could do, I suppose. We actually had a very similar accident happen in the western half of Melbourne, where they were coming back from a big public event, and one train was stopped in the station and it was there for too long, and the other train that wasn't supposed to stop there just ran into the back of them, and it killed a lot of people.
Yeah, not good.
And of course, in the days that these things happened too, it's all wooden coaches, and they didn't have things like override protection, so one train would basically end up inside the other one. And it was terrible.
Yeah. But I suppose from those mistakes, we've now moved on to a time where, well, those things don't happen, or shouldn't happen.
Yep. Well, even looking at our little railway, we've got a rule book that's about 3 inches thick. And if you think about where every one of those rules has come from, every rule is designed to counter a mistake that someone made.
Yeah. Oh, that was a cool shot you got there. And it worked this time as well.
I finally pulled one off. Managed to sit in just the right spot.
So we're now approaching the northern part of Brighton. So on the left of my screen, which is right of the armed PCA Brighton. And then we'll be coming up to, we've got the A23 slip, or the A27 slip road that goes off, which I'm going under now. And then the A27, which I'm going under now. Going over Mill Road, which is where you get the park and ride for the football stadium. And then, yeah, now we're in Patcham Tunnel. And then basically once we're through here, we're in Brighton.
Yeah, almost at the end, but not quite.
Yeah. Which if you do want to go to the football stadium on this game, you can. Because it is on the East Coastway route, which is another fantastic third rail route. It's showing its age now, but it's still good. Yeah, that's where football
I think East Coastway and TransPennine is another one. They both show their they show up quite well, even compared with the modern ones.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they are getting on now, both of them, but they still definitely do show up to more modern routes.
Yeah, every now and again, I crack out NTP and drive a 101 over the mountains.
Oh, lovely.
It's just good fun. It's nice and relaxing compared to the pace of the more modern commuter style things, because you know internally it's only a game, but you actually get immersed in it to the point that keeping up with the timetable starts to introduce pucker factor.
Yeah. Things, what do you prefer, Paul? Brighton Mainline or East Coastway? Because they both have that. They have two different sort of sets of pace to them. BML, fast, busy. You've sort of got to be on the ball constantly. But East Coastway is more laid back, countryside. What do you prefer?
Generally speaking, I like the busier ones. So for the routes that aren't busy, or if it's a really long haul, something like Cajon Pass, going down the hill, I stay interested because you've got to be on the ball and actually managing your train, or you'll end up in pieces at the bottom. But going up the hill, no, that 3-hour run up the hill at 12 mile an hour, it's not really my thing. I do like a busy route where you've got lots of movement, you've got lots of things to look at, you've got to keep up with a timetable. It's the way I play, that's just more interesting for me.
So this route's basically perfect then.
Yeah.
But East
Can't say I've
Coastway,
driven
it's
it
not
as much
quite
as you do.
route. Fairly busy.
I think the route that I've actually driven the most based on stats is is Boston. And I've driven that one huge amounts, but
yeah, it's a really good. I haven't been on that one in ages, but it's a really good route. Of the Acela. I want to play it now. You maybe want to play it.
yeah, we all have our favourite routes, and being ambassadors, we also follow all of the new stuff, because we try and get that out in front of people so they can see what it's like and see what it's like to play with just normal people playing it. It's one of those funny things is that people sometimes say to me, oh, well, you're an ambassador, you can't say anything bad about it. And I go, I can. I just take a different approach to the people who complain a lot. I just be constructive about it.
Yeah, fair enough. I just like playing the game. I mean, even if there was like a really bad route out, I'll say it's not great, but I'll probably still enjoy it in some way. I just like playing the game. I just like playing.
Yeah,
it's relaxing.
Absolutely. It's all about the attitude you have when you're coming into a game. Are you in the game to have fun, or are you in the game to nitpick? Because there's always going to be things to nitpick, because it's reality. Things have budgets. They have a certain amount of money that's allowed to be spent, and a certain amount of time that's allowed to be used from the people, and you just have to make it fit in that. And I think what gets achieved through those constraints is quite amazing. And you're almost at the end of the line.
Nearly, yeah. I think you've got 313 or something coming on the left here. I can hear the train clicking its way in.
Yeah, you've beaten me by quite a bit, and our clocks are still nearly in sync, which is quite amazing. Just for the people who don't know, the clocks in the game aren't actually real time. The game runs a certain number of ticks per second, and because what they're doing in the game world is changing on the ticks, so some ticks take longer than other ticks, the clocks tend to drift a little bit. But even across the two platforms, absolutely it does too. Even across the two different platforms, we're actually pretty close.
Yeah. Here we are at Brighton. That was a nice run, nice run. This goes back out 12:03. So you can, on this route, that's the great thing. You can just go backwards and forth all day long on the same train.
Yep, and you can get off and you can ride the same one again, or you can go and pick another one if you want to wait a little bit less. Yeah. I've finally gotten in now. So we'll sit there on your end screen for a little while.
Yeah.
But I think I can safely say I know which one won this half of the challenge.
What's that, 11,197? Is that?
It is indeed.
197, okay. You get 500 points for the... Oh, it's going to be close. Yeah, you get 500 points for that. I think you get 500 points for the end. Oh. Yeah. I mean, it's close. That's definitely close.
and unusually for me, it wasn't speeding too much. But
No.
yeah, I think that we're going to have a rerun at some point because
Yes.
it's one each. I can't leave it like that.
Yeah, we will. Maybe in the next event, it'll be a Paul versus Joe fight to the death type thing on TSW. That'd be cool.
Excellent. Well, it's been really cool and enjoying this aspect of the Festival of Rail.
Yeah.
So I hope people are enjoying all of the videos that they're seeing and being in touch with all of the different content that the ambassadors and the DTG people are producing and having fun.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, thanks to Dovetail Games for having us on, and it's been great to do a collab with Paul. It's been a long time coming. Actually, we have done it before on Cross City, and that was another. I think that might have been the last Festival of Rail. Yeah, nice
think it was.
Yeah, the back cab challenge, I think it was.
Yeah, driving the train backwards just because we could.
Yeah, why not?
Yep.
I suppose we're wrapping up there, Paul.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, thanks very much to Alex and JD and Jan for hosting Festival of Rail and getting us on here.
Yeah.
I forgot Jamie. Thanks to Jamie as well.
Yes. Yeah, thanks to obviously all of the Dovetail team for having us on. And yeah, hopefully everyone has enjoyed it. I'm sure there'll be another ambassador on after this. Maybe Dovetail will be on after this. But I think that probably is it from me and Paul. Obviously me, the British Ace, and Paul, TrainSimulatorDriver. Yeah, that's it from me. So, Paul, I'll let you wrap up as I started.
Yeah, we'd love to see you on our channels, of course, and jump in and subscribe. And hopefully you're enjoying the festival, and we'll leave it there. So have fun, folks.
See you all. Take care.
G'day viewers, welcome to another video in the Festival of Rail. I am TrainSimulatorDriver and you can find me on YouTube. During the drive of this service that I've picked from Positiavo down to Tirano on Bernina Lini, I'm going to talk to you about TrainSim World and one of the ways that DTG have moved towards a more realistic simulation while still maintaining a great game experience. So we should probably get into the cab and finish setting this up.
Hello there, ladies and
Get our
gentlemen.
muster key on, reverse it to forwards. Probably headlights would be useful, wouldn't they? And perhaps we want to get our tail lights on. I'm not going to turn on the safety systems because I want to talk to you, and they'll get in the way of that a little. Let's just set the cruise control to 30 because that's our speed limit here. Get our doors unlocked, and we can sit here and wait while the passengers load now. So we can pop back out here and watch that happening, I guess. Why not? There we go. People coming and going and getting in and out and that sort of thing. So if you consider the start of the life of TrainSim World, where there's an existing successful game, and it's Train Simulator Classic, but it's reaching the end of its life. It's starting to get hard to maintain. It's getting hard to make new stuff. And its reliability is sometimes a little bit interesting, as any of us who have tried to build things in it know. And it's time for the next big thing. A new game is pitched to the management, a new hyper-realistic game with state-of-the-art graphics in a modern gaming engine with authentic rail experiences for the enthusiast, while also appealing to the mainstream simulation gameplay to bring in sales. The pitch succeeds, and TrainSim World is born. It's almost time to go. So the new game is designed and developed by people who are familiar with gaming, and a lot of them are rail fans. Some of them have experience in the industry. The game is launched, and it does have aspects of trains and their operation as well as gameplay features like journeys and scenarios. It finds a general acceptance in its niche market somewhere between arcade game and dedicated simulator. About 20 seconds to go. I'm just going to pop back into the cab now. Let's have a quick glance around. Our destination's already set. We've got the right pantographs up already, so we're good there. Don't need any windscreen wipers. Park brakes off, so we're pretty much ready to go. Our speed is set at 30, and one of the reasons that I picked this train is because the train more or less drives itself so that I can concentrate on chatting with you. So, time to main brakes off, and let's get some power happening. that'll do. 76%, that'll be fine. We've got 1.6 kilometres to Likert before we get there. So, if you think about when the game first started, and I was one of the early days players on this thing, there were aspects that were not as operationally prototypical as they could be. And while in a game these aspects can never be perfect for the simple reason that players would need a year of training before getting behind the controls of their first train, they can certainly be nudged along a notch or two. Some things can't be included because the operators won't allow it, as it would facilitate nefarious activity. So you'll never find out how to truly start up a train, for example. You come close, but you couldn't use the knowledge from the simulator and actually go and take a train in real life. You wouldn't get very far. So, back in about 2020, the call went out via some of the streams and the Train Sim World forums for people with real rail experience who enjoy playing the game to step forward and volunteer their time in the beta program. In return for getting the latest and greatest for free, hours are committed to testing and feedback. Now, it's sort of a symbiotic relationship, I suppose, because in return for getting the latest and greatest to play with, you don't have to commit any formal time or any formal hours or anything like that, but it is an expectation that you will play the game and you will give feedback where it's appropriate to give that. So we're coming into the next station now, so I'll just start to concentrate on that a little for the moment as we count down the meters. Watch our little train come past. Be curious what people think of this route, so feel free to chuck your comments into the chat. Hopefully I'll be awake when this runs and we will be able to talk. So we've got about 500 metres to go. Now, obviously in the discussion today, I have...
Halt, Likert. Prossima fermata, Likert. Next stop, Likert.
Likert. I called it Likert, but there you go. That's just me. Alright, let's reduce our power a little and get some brakes happening. As we head into Likert station. Almost there now. There's a few people waiting for us, one or two. Excuse me looking around to the side because I'm actually watching this on a different screen, which is maybe a little bit silly of me, but that's life. Alrighty, we are pretty much there. Ooh, not a bad stop at all. I can't say they'll all be like that. So while we wait for our people to get in here, we're not here very long, we're only here for 15 seconds, so they probably want to rush a little bit. And they all go. So, obviously, I can't go into much depth in detail about how all this works, because I have a non-disclosure agreement, and that's designed to prevent leaks and ensure that players receive the news from Dovetail themselves, but I can talk in general terms. And naturally enough, I have shown this script to the DTG people, and they are okay with what I'm talking about. Let's get our doors closed, back into the cab, get some more power on. This is one of the few trains where you get some power on before you release the brakes, because when you're going into such a steep gradient, the train actually needs the power to control itself. So, back to the story as we head for Le Prézy in a couple of kilometres' time. I'm one of the people who stepped up, and I'm a steam locomotive fireman and a diesel second person on a heritage railway in Melbourne. Quite a few of you who watch my channel probably know which one it is. I've been involved in the railway since being a late teenager, and as you can probably tell, that was a little while ago. And I've done almost every job on my railway, and even in a generally non-driving role, I do get to drive the diesels from time to time, and after March, I'll be allowed to step into the steam driver's office on their side of the cab. It's a part of a fireman's career progression to learn how to drive from a practical sense, so that the challenging theory course makes more sense when it's undertaken. Now, even on a heritage railway, we have many months of theory before you're allowed to officially drive trains. So, how did the beta thing start for me? Well, it was after a very late night chat for me, I believe early in the morning for Matt, on Discord. I ended up joining the beta team. You get dropped into the deep end straight away, and you're largely left to fend for yourself. Why? Well, this encourages you to talk to the other people on the beta program and choose the things that you want to give feedback on rather than being directed. Because it's important that you're working with things that interest you rather than being forced into particular things, because when you're interested, you'll be much more committed to it, you'll do a much better job, and your playtesting and observations will be all around better. So coming down to Le Prézy now, we're still about 1.8 kilometres out. Allegra. We are actually allowed to go a little bit faster, so we're allowed to do 50 kilometres an hour here, so I should probably pick it up a little bit. We're coming down to almost at a 40 section now, actually. So even though I've only just picked up speed, we probably want to start bringing that back down to 40. I'm just using the VSOL or the cruise control to do that. It's interesting running along the river here as we progress towards Le Prézy. We're about a kilometre out now. We have got a yellow signal. I've turned the indications back on just to make this a little bit easier while I'm talking to you. And we need to come down to 30 now. This train is very responsive in how fast it speeds up and slows down, even on the steep gradients. Going through a request stop with one of the sidings. We do have a green signal at the end of the request stop, fortunately, and no other trains waiting here for us. About 900 metres out of Le Prézy now. Very briefly allowed to speed back up again before we're back down to 30, so we'll just leave it where it is. So we're not too far out from the platform now. Let's keep cruising along for a moment. So,
Nächster Halt, Le Prese. Prossima fermata, Le Prese. Next stop, Le Prese.
indeed, next stop, Le Prézy. It sounds kind of like a pizza. I'd expect this kind of pizza to have some nice spicy pepperoni sausage and some cheese, perhaps a tomato base with some garlic. That would be a Le Prézy. Yes, I know I'm silly, but that's okay. It's because I'm an Aussie. We're all silly. Because if we're not silly, things try to kill us. Alrighty, let's start the process of coming into the station. A little bit of street running here. Often wonder how much pucker factor the drivers have driving down streets. Because you are effectively a tram, I guess, when you're running on street running rather than a train. Up that much speed train, not really. I don't want to go too hard. I know I was stopping it a little early, but you know, it's okay. Loves going hard, this train. It's like the cruise control in a 1970s car. There we go, and there is the hotel next to us. Let's get the doors open. It is, of course, the Hotel Le Preze. We'll use that for our starting point for when we get moving again. So the beta program itself is managed through Steam, and because I'm a streamer and I make tutorials, I'm frequently bouncing between the bleeding edge development builds and the candidate and public builds. This means I'm particularly vulnerable to data corruption over profiles and settings, and people at times comment that it doesn't look like I play very much based on my levels. I think I'm about a level 7 or something at the moment, so yeah, it doesn't look like it much. But my hours suggest otherwise. It also means that I used an amazing amount of data transfer, and it's time to lock the doors and get going, which probably makes my ISP really love me. Off we go. Next stop, Mar-a-Lago. I've even been shadow banned, although they wouldn't admit it, by Steam a couple of times, and I had to make contact with their support to get back the familiar download speeds, because I'm on gigabit fibre internet here, so I do have expectations of how fast it's going to go, and there are times when Steam goes really, really slowly. That's okay. Quick chat with support, and they go, no, that wouldn't happen, but about 5 minutes later it's back to normal, so you go, okay. So no, they don't do anything honest. Getting up to 35 kilometers an hour now. So in the program, we're free to choose any content to join in with feedback and the testing cycle. And at first you're a little bit greasy, like Augustus in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but you soon learn that drinking in the waterfall is not such a good idea, and you start to pick and choose the things that you'd enjoy and have some knowledge and experience to give. I have some knowledge of UK and American trains alongside Australian practices through people I know and from when I worked on the IT side of public transport as part of my real life career. So I'm both involved in actual trains on the Heritage Railway, and I've been involved in the IT side of public transport, principally around fare collection. Now, this doesn't stop me from having a go at routes that look fun with new ideas like this one, Bernina Linea, that was recently released. I do have a go at areas I'm not familiar with, such as German trains, but my feedback changes. So instead of saying things like, it should be more like, I'll ask a question and I'll say, it's like this. Is this the way it's supposed to work? I kind of expect it to be this way. And I leave it open because do I know German trains and signalling? No, not at all. Only from what I've learned through the game. And that would mean that if I was giving some feedback and I said, absolutely, it should be like this, what if I'm wrong? Maybe I am. It's been known to happen. I've had my share of tickets just closed with going, no, it's meant to be like that. And I go, yeah, okay. So I tend to give feedback when things just seem unusual. Now, you get to build up a great relationship with the team leaders and the devs alike who share the beta space with you. And it's a good opportunity to chat with them and learn about how things should be or what the intentions are with something. Because just because, and this happens out in the real world too, you see the people on the forums and they're going, oh, this is wrong, this is completely wrong. But they don't actually know what the intention was at the time. They don't know what the developers were told to do or asked to do. So they've quite possibly delivered exactly what was intended, in which case it's not wrong at all. Might not be what someone expects, but their expectations might not match the reality either. So that's quite okay. Cruising along here down the side of the lake. Coming into Mar-a-Lago. We should hear the announcements fairly soon, I would think, based on the other stations. It's quite a scenic spot, perhaps a little less so because it's foggy today. what our passengers think of how things are going. Can we see any back there? I'd need to stand up, I think. Perhaps I shouldn't do that. I don't think I heard an announcement for Mirror Logo. Maybe it happened when I was outside the train, but I'm not sure. But that's probably a good example of the kind of feedback I can give, even though I'm not familiar with the route in real life. Because I can just say, hey, we didn't get an announcement, is that right? People jump in and out. So my other value to the beta is that my actual career is in IT. And over the last 35 odd years or so, I've worked in IT in roles like developer and software architect, and today I'm a solution architect. And that means that I know the language and the processes of software development. I know how to log a bug in a way that gives the developer a chance of figuring out what happened and adjusting it most of the time. Almost time to go. Lock the doors. And get the brakes off, and we'll just let her rip, although we're supposed to come down to 30, and I think I have already set the cruise control for 30, so we should be fine there. Cruise down through the streets. We've got a couple of kilometres until we get to Bruzio. So I know the most important thing of software development in that bugs and change requests are triaged and prioritised. And knowing this means that I don't get emotionally invested and that I can move on when something is not addressed. I know there is always a reason why. I don't necessarily get told what that reason is, but I can rest in the knowledge that people did have a think about it, and if it isn't done, that there's method to the madness. I also know that projects have budgets and time boxes. They simply can't go on forever in search of elusive perfection. It's common knowledge in the IT world that the last 20% of functionality consumes 80% of the budget. It's called the 80-20 rule. So in my real-life IT career, we often encourage our users to forego features that only a few of them will use, or they only use occasionally, and not develop them because it saves an enormous amount of money and time to work that way. Now, I imagine that many people think that being in beta is all chips and gravy and good times. Well, let me tell you, it ranges between highly frustrating, on days that you're thwarted from playing at all, through to getting the warm and fuzzies as you see a route coming together and the train environment, track, signalling and services and scenarios all come together and become playable. In my time in beta, I've probably learned as much again as I originally came in with. My own personal railway knowledge has grown, and the community of people I test alongside have become acquaintances, friends, and in one case even a mentor. I've also learned a lot about game development and what can and cannot be done. I've learned, for example, excuse me while I change pages, apologies, didn't memorise all of this, but should have, but didn't. This is going well, isn't it? It fell out of my little clip. Come on, get in there. It's very professional. Anyway, back to it. One of the things that's very difficult is that light is very difficult to manage in any game. I've learnt that some things are done in the name of performance, so that people's machines don't catch fire or grind at 10 FPS, and I've learned what bones are in a 3D model, for example. Now, I log a lot of bugs, and they might be actual defects, or they might be things that I think could be done differently, or things that I just wish for. Do I or anyone else in the team find everything? No, of course not. It's a big world, and every player takes a different approach, and that will bring out new things that no one has ever noticed earlier. Now, this happens in the real software world too. Your software survives the first 5 minutes before someone does something that no one thought of, and suddenly it doesn't do things correctly anymore. And that's just life, and it's just the way things go in the IT world. There's really not a lot you can do about it. The only time you do more types of planning and testing is if you're building, say, a control system for a power station or for an aircraft or something like that. And even then, we'll know from recent examples in real industry that sometimes even that doesn't happen. So it's all about money, sadly. It's just how it is. Now, the areas of feedback that I've offered over the years are things like train operators minimise their operational moves. No train will travel half a mile down the track after a set of points, just to run back again into another track through the same set of points. They stop as soon as they're clear, and then they'll run back, unless they have to move forward further to clear a signal. Drivers don't stop with their nose about to go past a red signal. They sit back a bit and they wait for the signal to change. A SPAD, or signal passed at danger, is a career-ending event in real-life railways, and it can actually be a life-ending event. So no one will risk it by being up close and personal with the signal. Anyone can make a train go forwards. The skill is in the braking. Train brakes are tricky, finicky things. A small action at the handle has a large but usually delayed reaction on the train. It's important that these operational clues are included in the way trains behave. Players often call this the mystical physics. The person who drives a route comes to know it, and this knowledge can be passed on during route development to make it accurate. This means being able to eventually drive it HUD-free after learning it adequately. So on my railway, for example, people show me pictures of trees and rocks, and I can usually tell them where it is. You do learn your route that well. Train signalling is complex, and someone who gives a given signalling system every day can smooth the way for prototypical operation of both signals and driving techniques to accommodate the aspects. If you look at some of the incredibly complex American signalling systems, there are people who are working in the beta team who actually work with them. There are drivers, or engineers as they're called in America, or perhaps operators on some services and some systems. Did I just go through a station? I think I did. I think I just went through Bruzio. Let me just have I'm just stopping. Let me have a quick look on the map. Oh no, we're not quite there yet. We're just going around the corner. That's fair enough. Okay, I didn't think I'd missed it. But anyway, there are people like that working in the game, and they make it better. They make it much more realistic. So some of those strange things that the signalling system seems to do, they're actually real. That's the way it happens in real life. Yeah, coming into Bruzio now. Stopped just a tad early again. It's difficult to talk to you and do this at the same time, to be honest. I completely underestimated just how difficult this would actually be. Just get down to the stopping point, because we're almost at the end of the route too. Here at Bruzio, because we'll have, shortly after this, we'll have the big spiral viaduct, which looks remarkably like a model railway. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see there. Let's crawl down a little bit further, because it probably won't recognise me stopping that far back. And there we go. Let's pop some brakes on there. Let's see if it recognises 20 metres out. Will that do? Will that do? No, it won't. Okay, we need to be more exact. That's fine. How about this then? Surely this will work. Hey! And better open the doors too. So, this sort of knowledge includes things like the signal aspects rarely change quickly. If a signalman throws a set of points, otherwise known as a switch, and pulls off the signal, that will happen almost immediately. But if that same signalman were to drop the signal back and try to throw the points the other way, then a timeout will come into play, and it's designed to prevent changing points under a train. Only people involved in signalling would actually know this. Other people probably just think that the signalman or the game is a bit slow, but no, it's actually deliberate. It's meant to work that way. 6:47. I am a little bit late, aren't I? It's unfortunate. It's probably because I talk too much. It's time to lock the doors too, so I should watch what I'm doing instead of talking to you. But, you know, the point of this is to talk to you. Alrighty, let's depart Bruzio. Now, where I personally like to influence these days is mostly in the scenarios. by offering suggestions and proposing changes to make the content more prototypical and more operationally correct in a general sense. Now, why in a general sense? It's because every railway has its operating rules, and while there are often similarities from one railway to another, there are also significant differences. Something that happens on my railway might be unique and not happen anywhere else. Something that happens in or commonplace in Germany, such as high-speed freight, doesn't happen in the USA. Giant long trains from the USA don't happen anywhere else in the world at all, although other ideas like trailer trains and double-stack container freight are becoming common in all theatres. Did you know that supposedly modern ideas like containerisation actually date back to the 1800s, prior to the existence of railways? Interesting stuff. So, basically, in the beta world, I'm just a cog in the machine. I'm not important. I'm not unimportant. I'm one of many. We're kind of like the Borg, I suppose. So, my views are no more and no less valuable than anyone else's in the group. And there are things here and there in the game that I've influenced, as there is with every beta tester, and I'm not going to call anything or anyone out because our effort is a combined effort, and for the most part we all beaver away in anonymity from the general players. I'm one of the weird ones where people know I'm in the program, and that's because I talk about things like this sometimes. So, if you wouldn't mind, as we approach the end of this route, because we're coming down through the spiral now, which is quite cool and quite picturesque. I actually enjoy this part of the game, and I just like watching it, to be honest. It's kind of fun. You see it come down off the hill. I would like for you to consider and just take a moment of thanks for the members of the beta team who give their time freely. This feels like we're going way too fast, but I don't know that we are. I think we're actually doing okay. We're coming up to Campascio. But I'd like you to just have a few moments to give some thanks to the people who give an enormous number of hours. Absolutely enormous number of hours in combination. And they give their time freely, and they help influence and improve the game so that it's in a decent playable state when you get it. I'd also personally like to make a nod of thanks to the developers, producers, and others involved in the development who put up with me. And I'd also like to offer a bit of a nod of thanks to the community team, Alex, JD, Jan, and Jamie, who look after the ambassadors and give us opportunities like this one. So if you've made it this far, you're probably kind of interested in the kind of way I play the game. And perhaps you might consider subscribing to my channel. I'd certainly appreciate it. So, interested in what you think of what I've talked about today in how things happened in a very, very general sort of way in the beta program, because as I mentioned earlier, I simply can't talk about it in detail, and that's just to ensure that Dovetail control the narrative about the game, so that we don't accidentally reveal things that aren't public yet. So I never talk about the actual testing I'm doing, and I never talk about any of the routes or trains that I'm involved in. But in this general sense, good. And I've been fortunate to be able to use Benina Lini for this, because of course the train does for the most part drive itself. I've got the lovely cruise control. You can kind of take over and drive it manually if you want to, because to do that all you need to do is put the cruise control up to the maximum speed it goes at, which is 120 kilometers an hour, and then you can just use the throttle and brakes freely because it won't step in. This thing does have the most amazing brakes. Slightly over that time, which is sad because I was actually watching, unlike the last times where I wasn't. Oh well, that's life. But anyway, generally speaking, I just have a lot of fun playing this game, and I just like taking part and being useful, so I like to help out. almost got everybody loaded in. Looks like the last few people don't actually want to ride my train. They've probably seen the way I drive. I have. Alright then, off we go to Campo Cologno. I'm sure I butchered that pronunciation horribly. Excuse me while I have a little drink of water. Cruise down the final part of the run. I quite enjoy the advances in the landscaping techniques that have come into the game recently with LiDAR based landscapes, as it means very realistic formations that match reality quite nicely. There's still things that I'd love to see be a little bit different, so the like everybody, hop-in bugs me. And the way the lighting works on distant trees, for example, quite a lot of the trees up there are white. And as you get closer to them, they darken up. I would prefer that not to happen. But that's, you know, it's okay. Does it interfere with the ability to play the game? No. It's just one of those things that I think would make it next level. Got a red signal coming up. I've actually normally taken to playing with the signal aspects turned off on the track monitor, but because I was going to be talking to you, I popped them back on for this run. I quite like the different options that you can actually have with the HUD to control the game in the way it speaks to you, in the way that you want to be spoken to. So you can get lots and lots of extra information from the HUD, or you can get less, or almost none, or even none, if that's what you want to do. So if you've learned the route well enough, you can actually turn the HUD off and just drive, because all the information you need is present on the displays of the train and is present in the timetable and the signals and the signage along the route. The scenario to put your carriages up there in one of them is quite challenging, I have to say. Campo Cologno. I like the way the tracks run through the platform and just disappear off into the street. I reckon that's really cool. Because it's one of those things that you look at and you go, that's not real. And then you go and look in Street View or something like that and go, well, actually it is. So that's an area of feedback. It's always worth checking your stuff before you actually offer some feedback. Hey mate, your hat's on backwards. You can tell my generation there that I don't like people who wear their hats backwards. It's actually funny, I've watched a guy at a tennis match who was sitting there like this, shading his eyes, trying to keep the sun out of his eyes. And he had a baseball cap and it was backwards. If he just turned it around the right way, he wouldn't have needed to do this. But, you know, that's just life. And come into the street running section again shortly. A longer area of it as we come down into Toronto. I think Toronto's our next final stop, if I remember correctly. It is indeed. So we'll be there in a few minutes. It does take a little while because, of course, the street running bit's just a little bit on the slow side. That's okay. I have to wait 5 seconds. Oh no! Really? I'm going to close the doors anyway. Well, by the timetable I'm allowed to leave, but I have a red signal down there. So I'm wondering if there's another train coming. Let's just have a quick look at the map. Probably got a train in the long single track section. We do, look at that. So we're going to have a little bit of a wait here while we wait for that one to come up. Let's go and find it. Why not? Fly down through the foothills of Toronto and come and find our train. I can hear it, so we're getting close. Here it is. Well, I think given that this train has only just left Toronto and is coming up into the foothills here, I think we might actually end this video here, because I can't imagine that you want to sit there for 10 minutes and watch me do the railways hurry up and wait thing, because that's not going to be very exciting. So thanks again to the community team for putting on the Festival of Rail. It's quite a good time each year. Make sure you do check out the accompanying sales, because there are some good discounts to be had in both Train Sim World and Train Simulator Classic. And I hope you enjoy the festival and have a good time. If you've got any questions or comments on my videos, feel free to pop over onto my channel and let me know, because I probably won't see them if you ask here. So if you're in the chat and I'm awake, I'll be in the chat too, happy to chat. But if you're wanting to have some more detailed conversation, then head over to my channel. There's a link to my Discord there, so you can jump in and join me over there. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the remainder of the Festival of Rail. And it's been a cool opportunity and lovely to produce some content for you. So I am Train Simulator Driver, and you can find me on YouTube as we watch this train head up towards Hospizio. Alrighty, have fun folks. See you later.
We played a game.
Hello everyone and welcome to this introductory video to Train Sim World. My name is Jan, I'm a community manager for Dovetail Games, and this video is for all of you that are not too familiar with the Train Sim World franchise. Together we'll be going through the different menu options, as well as the different ways to play, like timetable mode, scenarios, tutorials and free roam, as well as a quick look at the Curators Club. But before we get started, let's talk about Festival of Rail. This is a celebration of everything railway related by Dovetail Games, taking place from February 1st to February 12th. To kick things off, we've released an update for the West Somerset Railway add-on. The remastered version includes a short track extension, an updated and expanded timetable, Train Sim World 4 features, and new scenery. If you already own the add-on, this update is available for free. But if you don't have it yet, you can get it at an 80% discount as part of the Festival of Rail event on Steam. Make sure to check out the event to catch some fantastic deals and expand your collection. And as you can see here, starting on February 8th, you can catch our awesome ambassadors who came up with some fun video ideas, such as the split screen challenge with the British Ace and TrainSimulatorDriver. Also, make sure to tune into the Dovetail Direct taking place this Sunday at 7 PM UTC. There, we will announce some upcoming content across all of our brands, including TrainSim Classic, TrainSim World, Catan Console Edition, and the upcoming City Transport Simulator Trumps from our friends over at ViewApp. But that's enough marketing talk, let's get into the game. Looking at the main menu, you are greeted with different options. The best way to start is head directly to the training center. Here you will have 5 options to start your training. One of them is Start Journey. This will take you directly into the training center into a guided tour. Alternatively, you have Fundamentals. Here you will be shown a list of different short tutorials, ranging from simple things like navigation and interaction, screen elements, moving a train, and up to more difficult things like diesel train introduction, coupling and uncoupling, and steam introduction. If you would rather like to learn the fundamentals of a specific train, you can do so by opening the training option and selecting the train you would like to learn more about. If you're feeling a little more adventurous, you can also explore the training center on foot. Here, a range of different trains will be ready and set up for you. And if you explore around, you can find a few hidden Easter eggs here and there. And finally, we also offer video tutorials, which have been very graciously created by our ambassadors. If you click on this option, you will be taken to YouTube directly, where we created a playlist containing different videos on different topics, which are also available in different languages, including German, English, and Spanish. Now that you've finished your tutorials, it's time to drive a train. To do this, click on To the Trains. Here you will be greeted with different options. You can either pick a specific train, pick a route, go on a guided rail journey, or if you want to be surprised, you can also select Quick Play. If you do this, you can select between a short run or a longer service. These will be selected randomly from your collection of add-ons. If you click on Choose a Route, you will see a list of all the add-ons that you have currently installed. And this list is sorted by last played and then continues alphabetically. Alternatively, you can also use the search function to search for a specific route. Once you select your route, you can now choose to either play in timetable mode, scenarios, training modules, or free roam. Timetable mode lets you play through a service from start to finish. Scenarios are predetermined tasks that vary from route to route. If you want to try something else, I highly recommend giving them a look. Training modules will give you a guided tour of the route that you selected. You might have seen this already in the training section. Free roam mode is a new feature that was introduced with TrainSim World 4. This is a sandbox mode, which means that you will load into the map without any AI trains. This allows you to drive any train that you like without being hindered by AI traffic. It is important to note that free roam is not the same as off the rails. A route will still have to fit the requirements of a train. For example, if you spawn an electric train like the Vectron, it will require overhead wires to draw power. If the route that you selected either doesn't have overhead wires or if the section that you are currently in doesn't have them, your train will not be able to power up. Please keep this in mind when you play free roam. To start playing Timetable services, I'm going to select Timetable, select the train I would like to drive, open it, and now I'm presented with all the different Timetable services. Here I can see the name of the service, the time of day when it takes place, the approximate time to finish the service, and my current rank. To the right of that, I see a short summary, as well as the different scores required for the different ranks, including bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Finally, I can customize the weather if I wish. This will always default to dynamic weather and the current date. I can either switch through different presets of weather, or alternatively even customize it further by moving the bars for the different settings. Once I'm happy with my selections, I can start playing by clicking on Get Started. Once the game has finished loading, you're greeted with an introduction screen. This shows you again the name of your service, your current time, a quick summary, data for your train, as well as the starting and end points of the service. The game is currently paused. Once I click on Get Started, the game will unpause and time will start. If we take a look at the HUD starting on the top left, you can see the current time, the scheduled time for your next stop, a progression bar for the current task, your current task, your current speed, the speed limit, your grade, as well as a traction interlock indicator. On the top right, you can see your current score, the distance to the next signal, the current signal aspect, the distance to the next speed change, the upcoming speed change, and your track monitor. The track monitor will show you a preview of the upcoming 1.5 kilometers. It shows upcoming stations, signals, as well as speed changes. Now, before we get started, we need to set up the train first. This will be different for every different train, but in this case, all we need to do is enter the master key and turn it on. Put in the train brake handle, set it to drive, and set the reverser to forward. Finally, I'm going to set the signal lights to the correct settings, and that's it. Now, our next task is to load passengers. To do so, I move the door locking handle to the correct side, unlock right side doors, and now the current task bar will start to fill up. Once that is full, the task is completed and I can close the doors again. Now that the task of loading and unloading passengers is done, it will switch to your next task. In this case, it is to stop at the next station. To do so, I need to apply power. You can do this by either moving the master control handle to the front or using the A button on my keyboard. The train is now going to slowly pick up speed, and depending on how much I move the lever forward, it will apply more power, pick up speed faster. It's important to keep an eye on the current speed limit. Don't want to overspeed, otherwise you will earn less points. Let's reduce power a little bit so we don't overspeed, but we arrived at the next higher speed limit just in time. But as we can see here, this is going to go down again. So always keep an eye on your speed limit and upcoming speed limit changes. As you can see, I'm speeding a little bit, which is why the indicator turned yellow, but speed has now increased again now that we crossed all the switches. Speed limit is currently 120 kilometers per hour, but our next stop is only 800 meters away, so we don't want to speed up too much. You still need to make sure to arrive on time. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do this since we looked at the different HUD options, so we are already late, but that's going to be okay. As you can see, the current signal aspect is halt. We're approaching the next station. It's time to slow down. I'm a bit fast in my approach, but if I apply brakes, we should be able to stop just in time. As you can see here, there is a stopping indicator, and we're overshooting just a little bit, but as long as all doors are in contact, we are fine. I can also use my keyboard to open the doors. In this case, it is Y to open the left-hand side doors. Now the loading and unloading will take place, and again, you can see the taskbar slowly filling up, and once that is done, it will turn green and switch to our next task. There you go. It's now telling me to lock the doors. Again, I can do this by pressing Y. And once the doors are closed, the task will change. You can now slowly apply power again to get started. But as you can see on the top right, our upcoming signal is a halt, so we should approach slowly and stop in time so you don't cross a red signal. Usually in real life, the train driver would probably wait at the station so people can still, board and unboard. But given that we're already behind in our schedule, let's try to get a little bit, let's try to catch up a little bit. Can slowly creep up to signal. Oh, looks like we're gonna have to wait. But that gives me the opportunity to tell you about our map. If I press 9, the map opens, centered on your train. You will also be able to see signal aspects, and if I move around by right-clicking, moving down the track, we'll probably see a train that's currently occupying our block. There it is. This is the culprit that we are currently having to wait for to move out of the block. So we'll probably switch here or move down south. Can keep an eye on it if we like, but let's use the time we have to explore the different camera options you have. If you want to take a look at your train from the outside, you can press 2 to open the outside view. Moving my mouse, I can move the camera around, get a good look at my train, and if I press 2 again, I will jump to the back of the train, which is especially useful if you have a very long train, like a cargo train. Pressing 3 is another outside camera, but this one is able to move freely while being attached to the train. So once our train picks up speed again, once we're allowed to move, you'll be able to see the train or the camera move along with the train, and you'll be able to move it around and get some nice shots and some nice views of the train in action. I'm gonna take a closer look at that once this train has passed, and there you can see it approaching, and as you can see, now the signal has switched to green, and we can apply power again. And as you can see, the camera is moving along with me, and I can use this to move ahead, get a nice shot of the train, and position it in any way that I like. Bridge is a little bit in the way, but it's kind of a nice shot. Let's apply a little bit more power. So we are approaching the upcoming 80 km/h speed limit. Make sure to not shoot over. Taking off a little bit of power. There we go. That way we should approach 80 nicely, and then we can set to master controller 0, so we're coasting along. Another camera option that you can use is by pressing 8, which is also a outside camera, but as you can see, it is not fixed to your train. I can freely move around, and by pressing Shift while moving, I can even sprint and catch up with my train. I should say I'm using the arrow keys to move around. And now I can set up here on this road, get a nice view of my train passing by. This way you can find nice train spotting spots. See if we can find a little spot like the end of the road here, this small field road. Can set up a camera and wait for the train to approach and pass. Now if I press 1 again, I'm back in my cab view, and we're about to approach our next stop. Just 500 meters, so I should apply brake again. We don't overshoot like we did last time. This is just something you don't have to get used to how to do it properly. When I started out, I applied brakes way too much, stopping way too soon. But after enough time, you get down to details, and there you go. Overshooting just a little bit, but again, as long as the doors contact, we can count it as a win. Now, if I press U, I can open the right-hand side doors, but let's use the lever again, unlock right side doors, and while our passengers are loading, why not take a look around and see the other things you can do. In TrainSim World, you can get up and walk around and explore the world. There's a few things to explore, like collectibles, and as we can see a bit further back, route maps that you can complete. But that's enough collecting. Let's get back to driving. Slowly applying power again to not throw our passengers around too much. For a smooth and nice driving experience. I should also say that I'm not using any safety systems right now. This is mostly so I can concentrate on moderating this video, but if you're comfortable and know your way around safety systems, you can turn them off or on according to your liking. If you're a complete beginner and don't know your way around the CFA or PEGI that the Austrian system is using, it would be recommended to turn them off and do a little bit of research before you use them. An easier system to use would obviously be CFA, which is just a awareness check that the driver has to do every 30 seconds, depending on where you're from and what country. I think in Austria it's every 30 seconds. The driver has to activate a foot pedal, which is like a dead man switch that makes sure that the driver is paying attention and still conscious, obviously. If you fail to press the CFA foot pedal in time, there will be a warning sound, and if you then still don't react, the train will automatically apply a emergency brake, coming to a stop. Now we're approaching a 80 speed limit, so let's slow down because we're way fast right now. Oh, just made it in time, not over speed. We should slow down anyway because we're approaching Lustenau. So let's apply a little bit of brake so we approach the platform slowly. Coast in, and once we're close enough, can apply more brake. And we should come to a nice and clean stop. And there we go. Well, looks like I tend to overshoot a little bit. Now again, can unlock the doors and unload our passengers. And while we do that, we can take a look at our surroundings, watch the passengers board and on board. And once that's done, we're going to lock the doors. And that's the end of the service. Once the service is finished, you will see a performance breakdown. This consists of an overview of the speed limit along the track, your speed, as well as the different stops and the due time and actual times. You can also see your stop accuracy and a score breakdown. Finally, you will see a overview of the levels that you gained for your overall level, the route level, and the loco level. This also includes some key statistics as the time that it took, distance you drove, distance that you walked, and your final score and ranking. So I press continue. I get the options to either return to free roam, load the last checkpoint, return to the main menu, replay the same service, or return to Timetable. If you decide to play free roam, you're greeted with the options to select your starting station, the starting time, as well as the option to customize weather. Once you click on Play Now, the game will load. Now that you're loaded into free roam, you will notice that there are no AI trains and no running services. This is by design. Free roam is meant to be a sandbox mode where you can spawn any train that you like and drive it without having to take into consideration any AI services that are currently occupying the route. Once I'm ready to spawn a train, I press Tab on my keyboard, select Spawn New Train, and from here I can see the selection of all the different trains in my collection. If I want to look for a certain train, I can use the search bar, and when I select this, I get a selection of different setups as well as liveries if you had any installed. For now, click on Spawn after selecting a setup. I can see this indicator right here. The blue circle indicates the front of the train, and the green squares indicate the different coaches. This way you will be able to see how long the train you are about to spawn is. If I move the camera around, I can turn around the orientation. So if I want the front to be facing this way, I can do so by moving the camera. Once I've decided on a track to spawn my train on, I can press X and the train will immediately load in. If I want to remove the train, I can approach it, press Tab, select Delete Train, and once I click Confirm, the train will be gone. Alternatively, I can also press 9 on the keyboard, select the train, and select Remove Train. This will again ask me to confirm. Once I do that, the train is gone. Now that you boarded the train, you might notice that the upcoming signal is red. This is because the train currently has no set path. To do this, I once again open my map by pressing 9, select my train, and this time select Set Path. Once I've done this, my mouse will change to a crosshair, and if I now move around the map by right-clicking, holding down right-click and moving my mouse, I can now move down the track. I can also zoom in and out using the scroll wheel on my mouse. If I now move down and select a point that I want to make destination, I click Set Destination and click Confirm. As soon as you do that, you will get a new task. And as soon as the crossing right here is closed, the AI dispatcher will set a path for you, set all the signals, and you are free to go. As you can see, you can have quite a lot of fun with free roam. As long as the train fits on the tracks and the power requirements are met, you can spawn any train and drive it on any route. And finally, let's take a quick look at Creators Club. And here you can get creative by designing liveries and scenarios and sharing them with the rest of the community using the online sharing hub. In the online sharing hub, you can see all the wonderful creations that our community has done. I can use the search function to look for a specific train by either using tags that are predetermined or looking for my own search terms, looking for specific trains. I can scroll through the selections, click on one, and click on download. That's how easy it is. If you want to manage your subscriptions, you can click on subscriptions, and here you will see all the different scenarios and liveries that you subscribe to, and if you wish, you can unsubscribe from them as well. If you have created some content using the scenario planner or the livery designer, you can upload them by clicking on upload and selecting one of your creations from this list, adding a tag, a name, as well as some screenshots. And if you want to manage your creations and see how they're doing, you can click on My Creations, and here you will see a list of all the different creations that you've uploaded. You can even see how many people are subscribed to it. And that's the Creators Club. It's a wonderful source to find your favorite liveries or to look at new scenarios that our wonderful community has created. There's a lot to discover, so take some time, take a look around, peruse the aisles, see if there's something to your liking. And that's the Creators Club. It's a wonderful source to find new content, to find your favorite liveries, to find some fun scenarios. Our community is infinitely creative, and I'm sure that even looking just for a short while, you will find something to your liking. So take a look and take part in the creative process. Get creative, create a new livery, create a new scenario, and then share it with the rest of the community. Well, everyone, that's it. You made it to the end of the introduction video. I hope it was helpful. I hope I was able to set you on your track for your journey with Train Sim World. And as a quick reminder, Festival of Rail is currently going on. There are a lot of sales on Steam for Train Sim Classic and Train Sim World. Make sure to check them out and also say hi during the different streams that are going on in the next few days in the chat. The moderation team will be around, and I hope I see you there. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.